Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Welcome to the Fuel Your Legacy show and podcast. We are definitely going to get deep into some things today. I have the most incredible book review for you. It just blew my mind, but also helped me just return to some of those early feelings that I had of really what inspired me to get into the field of study and the field of serving families the way that I do. And so that is what we're going to be talking about today. Really briefly, I want to just give you a quick shout out to my little sister, Heidi. She is an awesome dancer. She's doing fantastic, and she's mentioned me and my podcast a few times on social media, so I want to make sure that she gets recognized for that. Also, my website, samknickerbocker.com, you can go there and you can get a lot of information. It's being updated daily. Our goal is to have it completely done, right, in scare quotes, within the next 2 weeks. So that's our pushing goal. But there you can actually go and see the next events that I'm going to be speaking at. If you have a desire to learn more about what I share with people and how you can take advantage of that information and how I serve my clients, then you can see where I'm going to be speaking. I've got 3 speaking engagements. One is going to be April 5th and 6th, called Strengthen Your World. It's going to be at the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. And then again, I've got another event on May 11th. That's an event that I'm actually putting on myself with one other gentleman, Travis Brady, who is actually this whole week is about. So you'll get to hear from him on Friday about kind of what he specializes in, but he talks all about being the next generation coach. The name of that event is Next Generation Legacy and Wealth Workshop. So that is going to be fantastic. I promise you guys are going to get tons of value out of that one. That's going to be focused purely, really essentially on helping you identify what your legacy is, identify those things, giving you confidence to go chase that legacy, and then a nice blueprint, a nice plan, some actionable things that you can actually walk away with and to start building your legacy. And that's what's key. And sometimes we get in these seminars and we just go to seminars just to learn things. And I love learning. I love networking. That's just really quickly, if you're going to a seminar and you're not going for the intention of networking, you probably shouldn't be going. Yes, there's going to be lots of good information there, and you should be taking notes of those. But what you really should be doing is networking and getting connected to people who can really help you launch your business in a big way, maybe in the future, maybe currently, and depending on what it is. But just make sure that you're building those connections and those friendships, because that is what's going to serve you the most in your business and in your family and those things moving forward. So that's a little side note. But you're going to really walk away from this event with actionable steps, things that you can actually do to help you move forward on your legacy, some printouts, things that are going to help you identify who you are, practices or behaviors that are going to give you the confidence to really go and achieve your dreams, and then also a blueprint of how that legacy is going to be created, and then how you're going to market that and share that with other people. So that's going to be on May 11th. Super, super excited about that. All of these, if you're interested, go to my website. You can find access to them, as well as each of them I have a special promo code. So if you'd like a discount on these events, then you can definitely just let me know and I can extend that to you. Also, if you have, on June 7th, I'm going to be speaking at the Level Up real estate seminar, and that's going to be fantastic. I'm super excited for that. That's being put on by Tiffany Barnes. She's fantastic. We're going to have her on the podcast here in the next few weeks. Just a lot of great people that I'm able to associate with. I'm so grateful that I've been able to speak with them, and that they love what I do and they love my message, and they're wanting me to share that more with their audience. But if you would like to come get more access to the actual tacticals of what I do and how I help my clients, and definitely go to my website, check that out, and get registered for one or all of those events, because I know you're going to get immense value from it, not just from what I say or what the other speakers say, but also from just purely the networking and being able to be in proximity with the people who are going to help you reach your goals from a belief and an actual tactical standpoint. So those are the 3 events. And then also go check out my website there. I also have a webinar. My webinar is live. You can get registered there on the on my website as well for my webinar. And then there's also a place on the website to claim your free ebook. So your copy of my free ebook that I like to extend to people, it really goes into the hows and whys building a legacy should be and could be and is important to you, and what the motivation should be when you're in the process of building. There's a lot of people who are building a lot of legacies, and not always are they doing it with the right intent, or are they building a positive legacy, right? There's lots of people, Ted Bundy, I mean, there's tons of people who are just like, they have a legacy, they definitely have a legacy, but it's a crappy one, and it's a negative legacy, right? If you want to make sure that your legacy is not negative, you've got to intentionally plan for it to be positive. And that's what this book, the ebook, discusses of what is the motivation behind building a legacy. And if you approach building a legacy with the right motivation, then I promise you, you're actually going to have the legacy that you actually want. And so those are my few announcements there. We are going to get into this book. Okay, so I first heard of Joe Dispenza. I was listening to him on a podcast, first on Lewis Howes. Then I heard him on the School of Greatness Lewis Howes podcast. Then I listened to him on Ed Mylett Max Out podcast, or the Ed Mylett show. And Ed Mylett just had him on again. I've heard him on Entrepreneurs on Fire. I've heard him on a bunch of different podcasts that I listen to regularly. And this guy, I love listening to him because I could geek out about this stuff. I think I told this story before, but when I was, so I got off my mission, my church mission, where I went to serve the people of Scotland and Ireland for 2 years. And I came back and I decided that I really wanted to study neuropsychology. I wanted to get into how the mind works, what's the chemical effects from our outward environment on the development of the brain, which then dictates how we actually behave, right? The structure of our brain does matter when we're looking at our behavior, okay? And this is where Travis's message that we're talking about this whole week, the mind and the body and how they're absolutely connected, they are joined together. So I listened to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and my mind is kind of being blown. His story is incredible. I'm going to leave that for him to tell for the most part, but essentially he got in a biking accident, got hit by a car and destroyed his spine. He was going to be potentially paralyzed if certain things didn't happen. And he chose, rather than choosing the surgeries and the things that all the doctors and professionals were telling him he should have done, he was a chiropractor before, so he understood the spine, he understood how everything was supposed to be, and he chose to go all into what he believed, which he believed in natural healing of the body, right? Which is why he was a chiropractor. Well, he chose to just restructure his brain, and I haven't heard him talk about it in this book, but on one of the podcasts he said he would go through these meditations and he would visualize his whole entire spine being restructured and anytime he had a thought that he would get distracted, he would start over. He would start over until he could visualize the whole entire spine being recreated perfectly without any interruptions in his thought process or his meditation. And it took weeks and months to get to that point where he could visualize the whole reconstruction process without any damage. And that it's just so cool to think about what that does. But in my studies of neuropsychology, I actually studied a lot of the same things that he talks about in this book. And a lot of it I've talked about and I've incorporated into my practice and into my serving families and helping them overcome some of the things that they struggle with and helping them move forward and building the legacy of their dreams. But there was a lot that I had forgotten, just like things that imagine like your meeting with your either childhood dream idol, maybe the prettiest person, whether it's a man or a woman you've ever met, somebody like you are just absolutely Twitter-pated because you're interacting with this person or this relationship, this concept that you've never thought you were ever going to get the opportunity to, but you did get the opportunity to. Okay, that's how I feel being reminded of all of this. It's like flirting with my wife for the first time again. That's how excited I get listening to this book because it's mind-blowingly specific and explanatory. It's like reading a thesis on the mind. Well, I say the mind, that's a very general term. He defines it in the book. But on how the body operates, how it works, and how you can use that and harness the power of the body and the mind together to create whatever you want, and how you can actually change your past. One of the things that he stresses is that your speech, your thoughts, and your actions, they need to be congruent. Anytime they're not congruent, you're not going to have the power to actually accomplish what you need to accomplish. So focusing on making sure that your speech, when we're talking about speech, we're talking about the metaverbals, the things you're saying to yourself, but also the things you're telling others. So your speech and then your thoughts. What are your thoughts about yourself on a regular basis? What's your internal conversations that's going on in your head? And this is why he went, if we reference back to when he was restructuring his spine, anytime he'd have some outside chatter or inner dialogue, he would restart over, right? He wanted complete focus and clarity on restructuring his spine. And so thoughts and then actions. How are your actions really impacting, right? So if I was to overlay that on my message, just so you can see the similarities of where I've gone with it. Identity. What is your thoughts, right? So identity and thoughts are synonymous there. Speech and behaviors, or so habits, mindsets, and behaviors. So thoughts are your identities, so thoughts are your identities. Speech is your confidence structure or your behaviors. So thoughts are identities, mindset, and speech is your behaviors and your, oh man, I just blanked. Your behaviors and your confidence, right? So your behaviors, your speech, that's what gives you confidence. That's why in the morning I read, or I have read to me, because I've read it to myself, my business plan. I make sure that I'm constantly affirming my self-affirmations. I'm giving myself those behaviors and that speech that's going to give me the confidence to go and act, to go and create the life that I want. And that action is that habit. How do we have those habits become a regular part of us? And so one of the things that he mentions is we have all had these experiences our life. And every time we experience a new thing in our life, we have a new memory, okay? Our brains, our whole entire being was hardwired to actually always be learning, right? Our minds, our bodies, every sense that we have, it is programmed for continual learning. And what's important about that, the continual learning aspect of it, is that when we are continually learning, then we actually are changing. We can remain fluid. We can remain constant in change. But the moment we stop learning, the moment we choose to take a break from learning, our brains, our bodies, they don't stop learning. And so if we're not constantly putting in new information, or at least reprogramming and being intentional about the information that we want to recycle and become more better, then that's bad English, more better. I like it though. So if we're not intentional about that, then our brain is just going to go through all of our past memories, all of our past intense emotional experiences, because that's what's the most heightened. And from an evolutionary perspective, we want to stay safe. And so they're going to take all of the fear, all of the bad things in our lives, and our brain is going to continue to rewrite that story and rewrite that story and rewrite that story. And what's interesting is it starts out as like a small event, but 10, 15 years down the road, this becomes a major story in our life. It's like, as a kid, I watched this a series of shows. It's called Veggie Tales, some Christian show that taught really good principles. Well, in this one particular one, it's called The Fib, right? And there is the Larry the Cucumber. He's this like superhero, and he's going out to save the city from the Fib. The Fib is like this pickle, and this pickle starts out really small, and this pickle goes and convinces somebody to lie. And every time somebody lies, every time he convinces somebody to lie, he gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And then eventually he's like 3 times the size of the tallest skyscraper. And he's just wiggling through town and destroying the town because of this Fib, right? Well, that's what happens in our lives when we allow these little stories of negativity, these little experiences, without properly framing them or giving a good look at them. Our brain, if we're not continually rewriting if we're not continually intentionally writing the story that we want, then what we're going to get is this cycle, and this small thing that started out small ends up being this big roadblock in our way of actual progress. And so if you're sitting there and you're wondering, why am I not growing? Why am I so scared of these things? It's probably because you're not intentionally growing. You're not intentionally putting yourself in growth situations and expanding your mind in the direction you want. And so your mind is on autopilot, rewriting all of those negative stories, putting lens after lens after lens after lens. Another good example would be like a piñata or a paper mache, right? So you have one layer of newspaper, and then once that gets hard, you put another layer, and then another layer, and then another layer, right? So you're putting on all of these layers, and it becomes a hard shell, and you've got to be able to break through that hard shell. Sometimes you need a bat, you need something massive, a stick to really break through that hard shell and get to the root of the problem. And often, once you break through the hard shell of all the stuff that we've created around it, it's just an empty experience inside. Once we actually look critically at the initial experience that started the whole limiting belief, it's like nothing. It literally is not hard to overcome because it's so small in comparison. We're like, oh, really? That's what I'm concerned about? Really? What a joke, right? And I had the same thing in my life. I was kind of playing small in my business, and it wasn't until I went to a coach and I got on a call December 2017. I was working, slaving away in my business, and just wasn't having the financial success that I wanted. And so I was like, broke down. I was going to get a coach. I wanted to do it all myself, but I decided, okay, I'm going to get a coach. So I called this coach, and over a half an hour conversation, she's just asking me question after question after question. She's breaking through those layers. And when it gets down to it, it's like, why? Like, what's holding you back, Sam? It came down to, I didn't feel like I was worthy of success. I didn't feel like I was worthy of earning income. And what that did was it made my actions feel that way. So my thoughts, I didn't feel like I was worthy. It created this speech pattern of where I was always trying to do things. I was always working hard, but not getting anywhere. And this was the language I would tell people. When people would ask, hey, how's your business going? I'd say, oh, it's going okay. Could be better. I'm just struggling right now. I'm struggling to get past this. My language was struggle. My language was I'm having a hard time, which then produced actions of failure. It produced actions of not what I wanted. And so what I had to do, once she broke through all of that shell of stuff, and she said, okay, so the root is you don't feel like you're worthy. I was like, really? That's the only reason that my income is so low right now is because I don't feel worthy of more income? Heck, that I don't feel worthy root down inside of me compared to what I know I'm worthy of. I know I'm putting in the work. I know I'm working harder than anybody else in my office. I know I'm worth it, right? So once it was clear that was the underlying belief behind all of my actions, I was like, BS, right? So I went and rewrote my business plan. I started saying, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy. I changed my speech, which then changed my actions. I started thinking differently. I started rewriting all those thoughts. And so your mind and your body are absolutely connected. If you just sit there and you think about stuff, it's not going to work. You got to start to experience that you're worthy of it. And you can't just experience you're worthy of it, but not actually think you're worthy of it, right? So I was experiencing success. I was experiencing working harder than anybody else. So from an outward perspective, I should have thought I was worthy of it, but because my thought wasn't there, because my mind wasn't there, it didn't create the combination of success. And so when Travis Brady talks about on Friday, you're going to hear a lot about this, but the mind and the body and creating that perfect combination, that's what we're talking about. How do we create the combination of both? A lot of you guys have one, you've got the right mindset, but you're not doing the action. And then there's a lot of people who are just struggling. They're doing all the action, but they're not actually in the right identity. They're doing all the action and they think they have to struggle. They think that they're not worthy of it. And that's why they keep struggling more and more. Instead of doing that, how about you start believing you're worthy and you keep doing the action? That's when you have a powerful bond, like a weld that produces steel-like strengths for you to move forward. So with that, in the book, Joe Dispenza goes into the need to actually be rewriting what you want in your future rather than just letting it be rewritten itself. Now, oh man, there's so much to talk about on here, but it's so important, right? So I kind of mentioned this when I was a young kid. I was probably 10, 12, maybe 14 years old, at most 14. And we had a homeschool group. I was homeschooled. We had a homeschool group, and we were playing broom hockey, right? So we had some goals set up, and then we were playing broom hockey with some cheap brooms and a tennis ball. And one of the guys that was there, he was sitting there, and he was our goalie. Okay. So I was really frustrated at the time. He was our goalie, and he just sat there with legs crossed. He's like, I'm going to get inside the ball with my mind, and I'm not going to let it go into my goal. I'm just going to think about it not being nobody scoring on you, right? Failed, right? And I was like, man, why do you suck so bad, right? Back then I was not as kind as I am today, nor tactful. I would berate this kid. I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, get out of the goal. I'll be goalie. Anybody can be goalie, but somebody who's just going to sit there with their eyes closed and think they're going to block a shot, right? That's just not how it works. Well, I was probably too hard on the kid. Honestly, the more I learn about neuropsychology, neuroplasticity, and the effects and the quantum physics aspect of how we actually are connected and how we can get into these different things, I think a lot of what he was doing was probably more accurate than I thought it was at the time. Okay, I don't know that I concede to the fact that you can get in the ball and control it with your mind. But I do believe that we are all infinitely connected, and the power of our minds is not even close to being used. And this is a common phrase, everybody says it, but brain cells or neurons that fire together, wire together, okay? So imagine yourself with a stream, okay? If you have a massive river, most of the time the massive rivers, where they get all their water is from bunches of little tributaries, okay? And that's how our mind works, right? We're freeways, same way. In Utah, we have I-15, and I-15 is pretty much the main road that goes all the way up and down the Wasatch and Utah Valley fronts. And all the smaller roads pull into it. So I-80, I-84, I-15, I-215, Bangerter Highway, Mountain Lawn Corridor. So all these roads come into I-15. I-15 is the road that goes from Utah, southern Utah, all the way up to northern Utah, and just goes straight up. Okay, so your brain pathway is basically this freeway, and if you want to change your brain, you can change your brain, but it takes moving the freeway. It takes cutting off some of these tributaries and say, okay, I'm not going to participate in that. I'm not going to participate in that. I'm not going to think this. And then say, okay, well, what am I going to think? Well, I'm going to think about this, this, and this. And when you start thinking differently, then your speech becomes different, and then your actions become different, and you actually are going to change your brain. You literally can change your mind. It's not like a figure of speech. It's not this hypothetical. You can literally change your mind. And so listen to this book. You're going to get way more details than I could possibly share here on the show, because there's too much. The book is 18 hours long. Okay. And it's super, super detailed. So be aware, but a few cool things to just throw out, kind of wet your whistles here for you to go get the book. One of them is they did studies with blind people. Okay. Now this is something that, again, I knew about, I had studied, but I had forgotten, but it's so cool to me. Okay. All of your body, actually, like, we tend to think your eyes are are just the two eyes, right? All of your body breathes, not just your mouth and your nose, but all of your body breathes. Every pore in your body breathes. Every pore in your body has the ability to digest things, right? And so that goes into, like, what are you putting on your skin? What type of lotions are you using? What type of oils are you using? Sometimes in naturopathic medicine, you rub stuff on different parts of your body, and your body is able to absorb it, and it'll go directly to the internal organs that need that specific thing, whether it's on your feet or your back or your neck or your hands, under your eyes, whatever it is. Your body has the ability to absorb. So your body can breathe. Your epidermis, your skin, breathes. It also can digest things. It doesn't have to be just in your gut, but your whole skin can actually digest things. And then also your body actually sees. Like, it's kind of an interesting concept, but they did these studies with blind people, and these blind individuals, they could tell, even though they have no sight necessarily, like visual sight, with their eyes that we talk about. You put somebody who's frowning in front of them, they could tell whether they're frowning. They could tell whether they had an angry face. They could tell whether they're smiling. They did another experiment where they had a blind person and they had them on a dentist table, right? And from their mouth, from the sensories in their mouth, they could tell where things were in the room, right? So they were hook their brain up to a brain scan so they could see where what areas of the brain were most active during this time, so they could get a reading. And it was the mouth area. So while they're laying there on the table at the dentist office, right, it makes sense because people are playing in there, but the actual information that was telling the brain about where things were in the room was actually being sensed through the oral sensors. Okay, that's just mind-blowing to think that like your whole body is an eye and can sense things, and that goes more into the point of your mind and body. Okay, so we're going to get into one more topic before we close this out, but your mind and your body are inseparably connected. They have to be working together. If you're just relying on one or the other, you're missing a large percentage of what the combination can produce for you. Okay, one person working takes 10 hours to do something. One person working takes 10 hours to do something. You get two people to work on the same activity. Now you can do it not just in 5 hours, but probably in 3 hours, right? Because now you have two people doing something, and the combined effort creates morale, it creates objectivity, and actually creates a faster system. So you actually get things done better with two workers. You get 2.5 man hours out of two people because of the collaboration and what they're producing. So same type of thing. When you have the mind and the body, when you combine them, you're going to get more than just the mind or just the body added together. It's like a multiple of such. So really important. But you need to understand that, because a few weeks ago we talked about body language. Okay, and body language is so key. Body language is like more than half of our communication is actually through body language. And that's not by happenstance. Our body actually can read each other. It's not just all energies. It's not just the quantum physics realm. There's some actual physical senses that we can actually read people. We're actually able to see people. We're actually able to digest things from a physical sense, from our skin. So be aware of that. What is your body language saying to other people? What is your body saying to you? Okay, these things are important things to think about and to have on your radar, so that you can get the most growth the fastest out of anybody you know. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now the last thing that I want to talk about, and this goes into, again, my message. So on my hierarchy things, I've talked about this a few on Facebook lives over the last few days, but before you can have the right mindset, you have to become awake and aware. You have to be aware that there's a different way of thinking. Okay, you have to be aware of your thoughts. You have to start really thinking about, what am I thinking? Okay, so you have to become aware. And then your conscious behaviors, that's what your mind, you could say, your conscious behaviors are you actually intentionally programming your body. That's a conscious behavior. So consciousness, behaviors, and then the middle one is confidence, right? Once you're doing those behaviors repeatedly, then you start to have confidence in your ability to succeed. It's just a natural reaction of keeping commitments to yourself and doing the things that and doing those behaviors over and over. You gain confidence. Well, the next level is subconscious. So there's always this question about, where is the subconscious mind? How does it work? What's going on? Dr. Joe Dispenza goes into great detail here, and he talks about how the subconscious mind is actually the body's memory, right? It's a physical body's memory. That is the subconscious mind. And so sometimes we'll get in these depressive states. We'll get in these states where we're not confident. We'll get in these states where we're constantly screwing up. We'll get in these states of poverty. And what happens is this becomes our new normal. And our body has adjusted to this poverty level thinking. Our body has adjusted to this lack of planning. Our body has adjusted to this poor diet. So our body is adjusted to whatever it is. And then when we try and raise that, then our body, our subconscious kicks in. The actual memory cells in our body kick in, and that's our subconscious. So to change our subconscious, it's not just your mind. It's not just this like, oh, I've got to change my thoughts. I've got to think better. No, you actually have to change the movements of your body, because your body is where that subconscious is. So if you just focus on thinking things, you're not going to get the same bang for your buck as if you actually go and experience it. And Travis, this is one of Travis's main things that he talks about. I'm so excited for Friday, but is creating the mind and body connection, making sure that, yes, you're thinking about things. Yes, we're helping you accomplish things with your mind, but we're also helping you experience new things. We're helping you change your subconscious mind, which is your body experiences. We're giving you new memories, new emotional states, and we're trying to involve all of the 5 senses so that you're creating a new memory. Your body is creating a new subconscious memory. It's changing the old one into the new one, which is going to help you increase those things. And that's where those habits are developed, is once you've properly trained your subconscious or your habits, that's when you actually are able to create and go and actually have a blueprint to create the legacy that you want. And so again, identity, confidence, and creation, blueprint, that is what I focus on. And Joe Dispenza says thoughts, speech, and action, right? They're all it's the same core principles. There's just different things that we need to talk about in each one, but same core principles. This book, phenomenal, it will change your life if you listen to it. But beyond that, maybe if you're a geek like me and you just love this stuff, then it's going to be like meeting your wife for the first time again, or your spouse or your husband for the first time again. When you get the butterflies and your Twitter page, you just can't get enough of it. That's how I feel about listening to this stuff, because it's what I studied. It's what I fell in love with. Now, the reason I moved into the field of expertise that I am right now, helping people build legacies, helping people with their financial mindset, is because I recognized that was a major contributor to a lot of things in people's lives, a lot of depression, anxiety, suicide, divorce, malnutrition. A lot of that was focused on their ability to provide and their understanding of money. And so now I help people build the legacy and have the financial confidence to do what they want. And I empower families that way. But before, this is what I studied in college, and I loved it. It's so exciting to read this detailed information and clarity, and just to really understand exactly what's happening. And he goes into way more depth than I just went into. That's why I think you need the book, and just go listen to it. I normally listen to things on triple speed. Okay. I had to slow this book down to 1.5 speed because I really wanted to get all of the information and have it explained in the technical way that he was doing so. I wanted to make sure I understood exactly what was going on. So phenomenal book. I can't say enough about it. I'm excited for you guys to go pick it up and read it and have your minds blown about what's possible if. And that's one of the things he always asks people is, hey, ask what if. That's the quickest way to change your state. Hey, what if this did happen? What if I was successful here? And why me? Why do I have this opportunity right now? So ask what if and why me to every question. And then you're actually going to, why me in a positive way, not in like a poor me, a victim mentality, but why me from a positive perspective. And that's going to help you a ton in your life. I'm super excited for you to get this book again. And then also, if you guys would like a shout out on the podcast, just take a screenshot, post it on social media. Also, I'm going to be doing pretty soon here, I'm going to do a whole episode just on questions, answering questions from social media. So if you guys would like to go start posting on that, post some of your questions. I'm going to do a Facebook Live kind of introducing it. Post your questions there, and then I will answer those on one of my podcast episodes just to help people get a little bit more information from me and what I do and how I help clients. But fantastic. I'm super excited you guys were able to join me today for the Fuel Your Legacy show, and go forth and prosper. Again, you can go check out my website, samknickerbocker.com, and learn more about my ebook, my webinar, or the areas that I'm going to be speaking over the next few months. So have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.